This type of technique is called hyperrealism. So hyper and realism is it's all about bringing the artwork as close to reality as possible. Because a lot of stories in people, there's a lot that meets the eye. Not just someone with a smile. There's always a story behind that. My name is Eddie Ochieng. Art is a very, very interesting career, very interesting industry. It takes a lot of effort and patience to actually get to a point where you are known at a global stage. This type of technique is called hyperrealism. So hyper and realism it's all about bringing the artwork as close to reality as possible, and it's focusing on the details alongside other things like emotion and expressions. The how is actually in the when you look at the type of tools I use, the brushes, a lot of them are the very small pointed ones, and this is for putting the details that when you zoom in closer into the work will show you the texture of the skin. So it's mostly about the texture. The texture brings out the realism of the subjects. My inspiration comes from people. I like talking to people of different ages, different areas, backgrounds. It's because a lot of stories in people. There's a lot that meets the eye. Not just someone with a smile. There's always a story behind that. Like, who is this? Where are they from? What are they experienced? What do they know? What can they teach me that I don't know? And if you look into that, there's a whole array of lessons you can learn, new things you can, be aware of, and just being inspired by people's stories. That's what informs my artworks. Some are people I just come up with. They're faces I can just create out of imagination. And second, I use models who can be, most of them have been my friends, people I know, or I can even approach someone, maybe after having a conversation with them, and hearing their story or something that I feel is worth painting. The conversation that comes out of that, I just approach them and tell them, hey, would you like to be a muse for my painting? A lot of times they say yes, because this rarely happens. So like, my face will be on a painting? Yes, please, So yeah, some are real, some I come up with. I like appreciating my heritage, and not only in Kenya, but Africa at large, the whole continent. It's so rich with culture and heritage. And this is what forms identity. So even for an artist, for myself, for me to come this far that I've come, I had to get to a point, that, I have a talk with myself and reflect on actually, who am I? What are my values? Where do I belong? So once I get that, I can have a good idea of how I can proceed forward. So just outlining or showing the African culture, the beauty of it to the rest of the world. I think it's a never-ending story, and it's beautiful, and it's diverse, and that's what I want to show the world. For a lot of people who may not know what goes on, in the studio to create such a work, they may not have an idea of how it works. So they look at it and they're like, but it's just the same as a photo. But in this case, it's not, because consider this is all hand done. So that, for starters, that's one major difference. If a hand can bring something to a point where you confuse it for a photo, how about we start from there? That's an interesting skill to begin with. And then the value of it now, of course, changes, because it's intellectual property in this case now. And the time taken to do this. There are some pieces that can take a month, 2 months, some even 3 months. But then, aside from what you see, the photo, the reality of it, and the skin and the details. Like I said, there's a whole story behind it, so that it's not just a snap of someone, but this is a piece with a story, so that even when a buyer comes to interact with the piece, they know actually this work is about the African culture. So this person is called so and so. This has been their life. So when you take that piece home, you're taking a whole story. You're taking a whole artist, a piece of an artist. That's what sets it apart. Professionally, it's been 6 years now, but cumulatively 8 years, counting 2 years I've been doing that also while in campus. I can say maybe 90% of my clients come from social media. I think for creatives right now in this new age, social media is such a game changer, because even shopping, leave alone just the creative industry, a lot of people are shopping online. You can order clothes or whatever you want online, and that's business. Every business is shifting online, and I think the art industry is doing the same. So even galleries are shifting online, offering their clients, access to art and artists online, so that you don't have to be there in person to purchase a work. So in the same manner, most of my clients I get from online, from social media. Yeah. They see the work, they can interact with me there, they can send me an email, and then I ship the artworks to whichever part of the world they need it. So can take it back to 2018. I think that's when I traveled to South Africa twice that year for an art fair, and someone just reached out to me, one gallery owner there from South Africa, through social media again, and they say, would really like to have you here for this program. And that's when I went. Really informative and successful program. We got to exhibit my work. I met more gallerists, more collectors, more artists there. I was exposed. And the same for the second time. I went in March and September the same year. Aside from that, my work itself has traveled to Australia this year in February. There was an exhibition I did in Adelaide. I wasn't able to go, but the artworks were there. And where else have I been? The US. I've exhibited there as well. I wasn't able to go as well because of COVID. It was around 2020 when we were at the heart of COVID, so travel was restricted, but I sent the works, and it was successful as well. When it comes to awards, I have been given 2 awards. The recent one was in 2021. There's an organization called the Go Down Art Center here in Kenya. So they have an annual competition about, the life in Nairobi. Actually, that's the theme, Nairobi life. So what do you observe when you go out there? So, people working, kids playing, just having artists give their own render of what they see out there. So 2021, I was the winner of that award, which was a huge accomplishment. That was like my 3rd attempt after trying it in successive years. Apart from that, there's another award I got by this organization called Mask Art. They're based in London, but they have a base here, an office here in Kenya as well. They teach and have art programs in Kenyan schools. And I won in 2017 and 2018 Best in Painting. A word of advice to any artist who's coming up: if you feel you have the interest and the gifts, or even the willingness to do it, I'd say just hit the road running and give it your best. It's these very small steps that you take every single day that will take you far at the end of a year, at the end of 2 years. You know what I mean? So it's been the same case with me. I didn't just start like this, and the paintings look very realistic. Actually, if you see my previous paintings when I was in campus, there's a lot of growth, and that's actually the main point. That um, when you start, just look at the growth. Don't be too distracted by what someone else is doing, so that you want to do what they're doing, so that you can make it in the same way they're doing. It's all about authenticity and what you define for yourself. What's your style? What subjects are you handling? So if I see someone who's doing wildlife paintings and they're getting recognition for that, and then I try to do that, it might be hard to get to what he's doing, because he has been authentic to what he wants to create, and that's what he's gone with it. And the same for me. I stuck to people and faces for a very long time. And at some point, there wasn't much traction or attention to it, but I did it anyway. And then, slowly by slowly, people will notice. For creatives, we create our own dust, by putting in effort and time. So it's very possible. Anyone can do it. And you don't even need to have the talent. Sometimes they say, someone will tell you, I don't have the talent to paint. But actually, anyone can learn it. If you can learn how to write, if you can learn how to read, you can definitely learn how to do art. It's therapeutic, it's beautiful, it's very fulfilling. If the interest is there, go for it.